I just got back from Axpona and I wanted to share some of the technologies, the designs that I saw there that I thought were really intriguing, especially from a DIY standpoint. Things that you're probably not going to DIY yourself, and companies that just surprised me, whether it was surprising because of price, or performance, or something else. Now, I had never been to Axpona, so I didn't know what to expect, and you saw everything at Axpona. Everything from $800 pair of speakers to $1 million setups. It was incredible, the wide array of products that were there. It was amplifiers, it was turntables, preamps, DACs, all kinds of good stuff. In fact, one of the companies that you've actually seen on this channel was one that once again surprised me, and that was Orchard Audio. So I went over to Orchard Audio, and they didn't have their own booth. They were actually set up with a couple different companies. Now, they brought their amplifier, which is their Stark Rimskin Ultra, and they actually had it in 3 different rooms. The first room I visited with their stuff in it was CSS Audio, and they were doing the new Tory speakers in there. And although I love the Stark Rimskin Ultra, everyone knows that I like that. I built it on the channel. If you haven't seen that, you can check it out here. I even did an interview with Leo. He's a fantastic guy. I'm just really happy for everything that he's doing. He's just making great products at a good, affordable price for what he offers. I'm not going to say it's affordable for everyone, because it's not. He came out with a new pecan pie streamer. He likes those fruit and apples and nuts names, so pecan pie. And that thing was fantastic. He had it hooked up to his Stark Rimskin Ultra, and then of course they had it hooked up to the Tory speakers. I was really impressed with it. He did a good job making a new design for the enclosure, and it looked good. This is a brand new version of it. I was really impressed with what he was doing at Orchard Audio. And as I continued through the rooms, one of the rooms that surprised me was a company called Endow Audio. These were really intriguing. I talked to the guy who designed these. His name was David, and we talked for a little bit about the design. It is a very unique design. A design I don't think you're going to see very many DIYers take on, and probably not one you're going to see me take on. You're going to look at this and you're going to see the horn, and that horn is a horn-loaded tweeter in the middle of that. But on the outside of that horn are a bunch of mid-range drivers, and those little tiny mid-range drivers are actually completely time-aligned with the tweeter, but they're in an array of a 360-degree array to try to get the mid-range out in a pattern to fill the room. Think of it like a presence tweeter, although this would be mid-range. And then he had a woofer in there, a 12-inch woofer, and these speakers sounded really good. The thing that I found really interesting about this is something that someone could potentially DIY if you wanted to. They basically did that when they were prototyping. They 3D printed this horn and continued to 3D print it multiple times until they got the variation that they wanted. And I find that to be very interesting. First of all, anyone that's 3D printed knows that's not an easy and quick task. It takes a while to get that toned down, especially if you're making incremental changes like they were doing. And then he actually told me he hooked it up to a Klippel NFS to be able to get everything in line with the way that they wanted. Really impressive little design. I liked it. It was intriguing. It was something I'd never seen really before, and something I liked. Interestingly enough, I did find out that their first version, this is their second version, was actually on Aaron Audio's corner. He actually has a review of that speaker. So if you want to see that, I'll go ahead and throw a link down to Aaron's video down in the description so you can check that out. Now, I also like to look for speakers that I think are intriguing in the essence that they break the ideas that we have, especially in the DIY world. Maybe using materials that we wouldn't use, or maybe using concepts that we either wouldn't use or can't. And that's kind of where this next product comes from. This is called Acoustics Acoustic. And this Acoustics was not just my kids, but also my favorite build that we saw there. This is unbelievable. These speakers were made 100% out of amethyst. They also made some out of granite. And if I remember correctly, they said that they made them out of 3 centimeters thick solid rock. Now, because of the design shape and because of the material, we talk about always getting a dense cabinet, right? A dead cabinet, a cabinet that we won't get reverberation out of, one that won't sing on us, one that won't resonate, right? We want that deadness. And we do that with bracing. So when we take an MDF cabinet or something made out of birch plywood, we use a lot of bracing. And because of that, we add a lot of weight to the cabinet. And a smaller speaker can weigh a lot because a lot of it ends up being bracing. Now, some of your cheaper manufacturers don't care about bracing and they don't really worry about that, and your cabinet does resonate. But with us that DIY a lot, we care about that. So I talked for a long time with Core Acoustic, and one of the things that I found very interesting is they don't use any bracing at all. And these speakers sounded fantastic. I did not hear any resonance. And so I talked to them about that. And their whole philosophy is the stone material in and of itself is already dead. There's no reason to add that bracing. So even though that speaker looks like it's really, really heavy, it's not. That entire setup that we're looking at right here is about 150 pounds is what he estimated, which is a lot less than I would have imagined. A lot. Now, another cool thing is because the amethyst has those quartz veins in there and it has that cool color, he can add some LED lights in there, and those are just regular LED lights that he's coloring, and the color of the amethyst shines through. I thought it was a really beautiful design, something that I would never be able to probably DIY, and something that's really cool. Not everything was already made speakers. There were speaker manufacturers there. Speaker manufacturers like Dayton Audio and SB Acoustic. I actually stopped by SB Acoustic and actually met up with one of my contacts. I didn't even know he was going to be there. He sent me some stuff for SB Audience. So if you've seen some of my builds like the Audience 212 or the 21-inch subwoofer builds, those were all SB Audience drivers, and we got to talk, and he showed me a really cool new driver that SB Acoustic has that is actually a coaxial design, and they have a couple different sizes of these coaxials. The thing that's cool about these though is that they are concentric as well, which means that they are completely time aligned. The tweeter and the woofer sound comes out at the exact same time. Now, I talked to him for a while, and we might be getting some of those on the channel to be able to do a design with. So if there's something that you think we could do with something like that, let me know in the comment section. I'd love to see what you guys are thinking. I of course have some ideas as well. Now, over next door was Maddie Sound, and Maddie Sound had some demo DIY kits up, and they all sounded really good. In fact, some of the DIY kits actually blew away some of the much more expensive non-DIY kits. It was pretty impressive. Now, I did stop by Dayton Audio, and it was pretty interesting because Dayton Audio didn't have any kits there. Now, they did have some of the Epic drivers just to show off, along with their Signature Series drivers that they just came out with, but really they wanted to show off their new products. And some of that was their new amplifiers, and some of those were, of course, these new Opal One speakers. Now, I do believe I'm going to get some of these in for reviews, so if you want to check those out, or if you want to see those SB Acoustic speakers, make sure to subscribe to the channel. But the Opal Ones were really interesting and intriguing because they were able to hit between probably 25 and 35 hertz with authority in that room. Now, the way Axpona is laid out, and maybe I should have said this in the beginning, is it's in a hotel, and every room of the hotel in this certain area is actually a different company. So the company has one room. Now, some companies have splurged for like large rooms, some have splurged for small rooms, and of course some have actually splurged for, you know, conference rooms. But most of the stuff that we're looking at is going to be in the hotel rooms, the actual, like, where you would stay if you were to get a hotel room. And Opal Ones were actually very impressive. They had low-end bass out of a very small compact size that was unexpected at that price point. they're about $800 a pair. And as far as I can remember, they were the cheapest speakers that I saw. And for a lot of people, they were very impressive. I stood by there and saw a lot of people and talked to a lot of people afterwards that said that they were some of their most impressive speakers that they saw at the show, which is pretty interesting. I'm going to reserve judgment on that because I'm going to wait till I get my review pair in to be able to really take a look at the measurements, take a look and listen to things that I know what they sound like and what they should sound like before I'm going to give a final judgment on them. I did see a couple other companies that I was not expecting. Stereo Integrity was there. They had their 24-inch subwoofer sealed. That thing was hitting hard in a very small sealed box. Very impressive. If you guys haven't seen that, Life of Bliss has actually done some videos on those, and I'll make sure to link those as well. SVS had their whole surround sound set up. That was another one that was very impressive. I think SVS has a winner on their hands with their new Evolution speakers. Once again, I'd have to reserve judgment until I could personally critically listen to them, but in the setup that they were in, they sounded really good. They did a great job. Listened to some shoe research. Was very happy with their subwoofer choice. They were doing a great job with their subwoofers. They also used some of their coaxial speakers, which were there. I got to talk to Dr. Shoe too, which was pretty neat. And then of course, at the end of the show, I got to meet a lot of people that I have been able to meet digitally, but not necessarily in person. So Steve Gutenberg, Cheap Audio Man, Aaron's Audio Corner, Chana, you know, all of these guys I got to meet. Woody's Sound Up, which is Brian, of course, and a couple other people, and it was great to meet them. Even Andrew Jones, which was pretty cool to be able to meet him too. So, you know, next year if you get a chance to go to Axpona, I would definitely recommend it. You can hear all these great systems, and then not only on top of that, you can meet some really cool people as well. All right, guys, thanks so much for listening, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. This is Toy DIY Audio. I'm out.